Hello, my name is Juan.
My name is Daniel.
My name is Noah.
I'm John.
And one question I got for you guys is, how can majority rule benefit citizens? Because, well, for what I have, the majority rule benefits citizens because it reflects the will of most people, which gives laws legitimacy and stability. So,
I mean, I would have to agree with you, right? Because like, it just overall just helps like, I guess like from like rules and like laws like being less oppressive, right?
Yeah.
Because like a majority of people see it as like a bad thing, right? It's probably gonna be like a bad thing, so like protects like a majority of the citizens, and it's like protects like I guess minorities too.
yeah. So, yeah.
Majority rule is used specifically for like policies and stuff, you know. So, you know, people, the majority of people would be like, let's say there's a policy for street lights or something, or you know, just people vote for stuff like that. And so, I agree with what you guys are saying because it's supposed to help the community. It's supposed to people come together and decide on one thing, and that gets enacted.
Can you restate the question?
Oh, yeah, I got you. It's how can majority rules benefit citizens?
I think that that's such a broad question because when you ask how can it benefit citizens, it's only something you could really view on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, well, that's
But, for example, Roe v. Wade, it was passed by majority rule, but it leaves out a minority of people, like people who are victims of certain things, where they're very young, that would die if they went into labor, but they're still not allowed to get an abortion in their state because of that. I forgot if it's a bill or whatever, but because of Roe v. Wade.
Well, wasn't Roe v. Wade about abortion laws invading privacy? Like that was the claim is not being allowed to have an abortion is an invasion of privacy because people have their own reasons for doing what they will with their body. I read a little bit about it while searching for
No, Roe v. Wade was when they made it illegal to get abortions, or they removed federal protection from it. I'm pretty sure, giving states the authority to accept or decline it as a medical practice. And the reason why I brought it up is because laws and bills that are passed like that, they go through by majority rule.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that it would benefit people, and it probably does benefit quite a few people. Probably it benefits the majority of people because, I mean, that's how it got passed in the first place. Like you have all these Christians and all these people that believe it, oh, it's a baby, you're killing a baby. But really it only benefits them in their head, so they can feel virtuous. Like they're saving babies' lives, but really they're killing victims of rape who are too young to go into labor and they end up dying because of it, or they have to keep the child of their assaulter. Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis.
But, well, I mean, yeah, the Constitution does start with like we the people, so technically, I mean, it would just benefit most of the people.
It does. Most of the time it's beneficial because it tries to include as many people as possible. So
Yeah.
on a moral level, majority rule makes the most sense, but sometimes, like Roe v. Wade, it's, yeah.
So to do a complete 180,
On this topic.
to kind of stray away from why majority rule is beneficial or not, I did a little bit of reading up on this. Why do you think individual rights can win over majority rule?
I feel like that's just like more like based by case like Noah said, right? Because like in some scenarios where you do probably want to go like majority rule, right? Well, compared to like some other scenarios, you want to be like, oh, what does this specific person want, right? So like let's say like like for example like medical, right? Like let's say a person like wants to have a surgery, right? Because it would help them out, right? But another group of people see it as like not like the best thing you could do, right? They see it as like the second best option, and they don't want to do a different thing, right? At that point, you probably want to be like majority rights over rights to majority rule, right? Since it's like your choice of what we want to do.
Yeah. Well, individual rights has to do more with law, whereas majority rule has to do with people voting for policies. So individual rights, laws protect individuals from quote unquote tyranny of the majority, and so individuals have their own rights that cannot be taken or miscounted from majority people. So if you're trying to speak and the majority group is trying to vote for you not to speak, that's like your individual right of freedom of speech, you know, it overcomes that. And so majority rule is only for like, oh, we agree on, you know, having this, but we can't like, oh, we agree on you don't have rights.
Yeah, I mean, going into that, I mean, I'm giving an example of this. It's probably just like driving a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not considered right. It's considered privilege, but it's kind of like individual rights, right? I mean, if you are, let's say, you don't have something that somebody else does, and everyone should like say, oh no, you can't drive no more because for whatever reason, someone wants not you to drive, you're entitled to be doing that.
I was gonna say more like religion-wise,
Oh, yeah.
because like for one specific case I found was like Marina versus Arizona, right? Where basically this like school district was trying to force these kids to like say the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Like,
Yeah.
like pledge their loyalty basically to the flag. But like what the other people were trying to fight against were basically saying like they have the right to not do it, right? They have the option to not go and like basically pledge their allegiance to the flag, right? Because maybe religious reasons for this specific case, right? It's mostly because of religious reasons you couldn't do it. And so I feel like that's where like mostly like protects you, right? It's because like even though like you are like in a completely different belief system and your like beliefs will be completely different than other people, people have the right to like take that away from you and force you into a different belief system.
Yeah.
You were talking about driving and people trying to take that away. I immediately thought of slavery. I know I'm kind of using extreme examples, but it's true because America was a country, as wrong as it is morally, that was built on slavery. America was literally built on slavery, and the majority believed in it until Abraham Lincoln came around and was like, no. Which is, yeah, like when a majority rule is for the benefit of that majority, because the majority can be a group in of itself. Like if the majority of people in America, which back then, the majority of them were white or like Spanish or whatever, I'm not really that sure, but I'm pretty sure most of them are white. That's usually the narrative that most people agree with. The majority of people were white, the majority of people somewhat supported slavery and understood that it was helping America grow economically and whatnot. But it's still like extremely wrong on a human rights standpoint. And just because America as a whole accepted it as a country, Abraham Lincoln can win over majority rule because he's tough. This is the answer to that. My question is, this is a moral question.
Okay.
Does the majority decide what is right and wrong?
Technically speaking, yes.
I would say so because like if a majority of people are saying something's bad, right? It's probably, but there's always like obviously exceptions to this, right? But like if a majority of people are like in disagreement with you on like a moral thing, they're probably in the wrong, right? There's obviously like there's exceptions to this, but I feel like it's mostly because the majority of them decide what's right and wrong.
I mean, I would go back to your example of slavery.
Dude.
Back when slavery was popular, when it was acceptable, when it was used, you know, people probably knew it was wrong, but because the majority, which was basically anybody and everybody who had enough money for a slave then, had a slave and, you know, did whatever they did with their slaves, made them work in the fields, hurt them, was rude to them, other things. And the majority of people around the world at that point, you know, people in Africa were enslaving each other, people in China and every other country in the world had slaves, everybody had slaves. And so the majority was the world, and the world was slavery, unfortunately.
But what does that mean in the context of the question? So is slavery right?
Well, no, and that goes to show that the majority can decide what is right and wrong. And so slavery isn't correct morally or in any other way, but at the time it was acceptable, and because the majority accepted it, there was nothing done by it until someone was like, hey, you shouldn't do that.
So your answer is no, the majority does not decide.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you?
What was the question?
Does the majority decide what is morally right and wrong?
I will have to disagree on you with that. Going back to something you said, not aside from the slave part, the banning of abortions. There's multiple stuff. What was the question?
Does the majority decide what is right and wrong?
Okay. Many people. You said you were talking about religion when you said about the banning
Oh yeah, I was talking about Christians.
Yeah, yeah.
They tend to believe more about
So-
pro-life or whatever.
That's their mindset. But when another person goes and you're like, oh well, you know, I made a mistake or whatever, and I'm trying to not have this baby, and well, there's not just one person. There's a lot of people that make mistakes and they,
Or they're assaulted.
yeah, I didn't want to say it like that, but those, I don't know if it's only Christians or it was another group of people that wanted to ban this thing, but sure, there's a majority of people, they decided that banning was going to happen, but there's also other people that will disagree on you with this. I'm not trying to say the word, they were assaulted,
Yeah.
or mistakes happened.
Victims.
Yeah.
You can check it.
So I will have to disagree on it very, very hardly. The majority of people might agree, but there's always that one person that, there's always that one lower.
And so what you're saying is, the minority sometimes have isolated issues that still should be addressed.
Yeah.
So the majority of people, even if they decide that something is wrong, it doesn't always apply to these groups of people or these individuals.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been waiting to say my answer. On my document, I use the Second Amendment because it's something I believe in and I know quite a bit about. But roughly half of people in the United States, it's a very split issue, believe that guns should either be completely banned or that they should be, heavily restricted and monitored. But there's a reason why the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. Like, it's one of the very first things in the Bill of Rights, because we as people need the ability to defend ourselves. It's not just about guns. It's not assault weapons, AR-15s. It's about the right to carry tools to protect you and your family from a government that, if it were to get too out of hand, you know anything about martial law?
Yeah.
Would kill you in the streets
Yeah.
from orders. I'm not gonna use ICE because it's not even that bad right now, at least.
See, Trump was actually going to implement the martial law a couple months ago. I heard. Well, it was fake news.
Yeah, it probably was, or he just didn't do it anyways. But, people should be able to defend themselves and their property and their family, no matter what. You cannot justify, imagine if someone broke in your house with a gun because they're a criminal. They don't care about the laws, and then just your whole family. And you can't protect yourself. You have to just sit there and let that happen. Do you think that's okay? Do you think that's right? And then the people who believe that guns should be banned or they should be even more heavily restricted, what they don't understand is that the people that are legally going through all the processes, getting the permits, getting the CCWs to own and operate firearms, are doing so for that purpose because they want to protect their families. Because if they were bad people that would really go and do bad things, they would buy one off the street that's stolen, which is very easily accessible. It's a lot more easily accessible than people understand. They can go to certain sellers who create ghost guns with 3D printers and CNC machines. Guns, millions of guns already exist in the United States, and they are not just magically going to disappear. So eliminating the citizen's right to own them literally only puts people's lives in jeopardy, because then these criminals never have to worry about normal people owning guns. They can just break into people's houses, basically do whatever they want.
And then if you own,
But the majority believes,
yeah,
or it's roughly half right now, that they should be restricted or banned.
well, that's why there's a whole process that goes with it. You have to wait 2 weeks after you put an application or something like that, right? To get your license, and then you have to go through all this training. Of
Yeah.
course, there's restrictions between everything, and then, well, going back to if you break into someone's house and you're aware that they're not going to have it, and then they do end up having something, they're going straight to jail and stuff.
Yeah.
There's restrictions for a reason, and out of anything that I've seen, like any media and all this stuff, I've seen that people have only used them to protect themselves, not have just. Sure, I've seen some discharges going that aren't
Negligent.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, they should have a little bit more training rather than just restricting it at all, because
Yeah.
then it's just.
But how I see it, training's okay, like mandating that people need to get training, but like in California, you're only allowed to have 10 rounds and all this stuff, and they try to do micro stamping, and they have a roster, and they're like trying to ban body armor and stuff, like you're not allowed to wear body armor. That's a little bit of a gray zone, because realistically, who really does need body armor? But it really is infringing on people's rights, because law enforcement and the government are allowed to have as much body armor and weapons as they want, and then we're criminalized for it. So if the government gets bad, what are we gonna do? They could literally just openly kill us, and we can't even defend ourselves. Because that happens in some countries. I forgot what country was it in the Middle East where you could literally see the blood all over the streets in like Google Maps.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about.
That's unrelated, but conceptually, that's kind of what I mean is what could happen if things were to escalate that bad, which is unrealistic, but we should still have the right to be prepared and whatnot. But going back to the question,
moving on
I just
now.
want to restate the question. Does the
Moving on
majority
now.
decide what is right and
Moving on.
wrong?
Moving on.
For my, like, why might people oppose majority rule, right? Because we haven't talked about that yet. Like, for me specifically, I said, like, people might oppose it because, like, could, like, hurt, minorities. In terms of, like, it could lead to, laws being made that are just, like, unfair to minorities, or just have, like, people's rights being taken away. That's, like, my thoughts on it.
I actually have the perfect, like, an exact court case that goes with your question. What was your question really quick again?
Why might people oppose majority rule?
Yeah, so this guy named Gideon, right? He was put in court because he was accused of breaking and entering and like with the intent to do harm and stuff. And so he went to court, and because he had no money and he was like basically like a homeless guy, he couldn't afford a lawyer, and so he represented himself in court. And after going through all of the processes, cross-examining, and he didn't testify himself and all of this, and he argued really well towards his innocence, the judge still sentenced him with 5 years imprisonment. And so he put out a petition for the judge's refusal to appoint counsel on the stand that it violated his constitutional rights, because you have a lawyer that's supposed to be appointed to you, and if you can't afford one, a public defender will be appointed to you, and all that stuff in the matter of rights. And he didn't get one; he had to represent himself. And so in that case, the individual, being Gideon, was pretty thoroughly messed up by the judge and the jury during that case. But the majority also helped him by signing the petition for his release.
Okay, anyone else?
What's the question?
Why might people oppose majority rule?
Because,
Well, I think the people who would oppose any sort of majority rule when it comes to law, at least, it's kind of split down the middle, because half of them are either selfish and they want to be pandered to, and they want to have more rights than other people, or they want to have certain privileges. And then the other half are people that may be, screwed over by certain laws or excluded, which we kind of already talked about with like the Roe v. Wade. And a good example for people that just want to.
For people that want to what? Noah?
For people that want special privileges, or they just want what benefits them most. A good example of that would be just rich people that want more tax cuts, to be honest. Like, that's probably the easiest example you could just look at. I mean, they don't even really need tax cuts though, because all of their money is in like liquid assets anyways. But they still want them. They'll try to write off as much as they can. Like, in California, when they've been trying to make this high-speed railway. Dude, what? Literally what? They've been trying to make this high-speed railway in California. It's literally like, I don't even think it's like halfway done. Like, it's going horribly basically. They've wasted millions and millions of dollars on it, but the people responsible for it, like these high-ranking people in the local government in California, are like taking like all-inclusive trips to like other countries. I think it was like Paris or something. Like they're basically just enjoying themselves, just like going on vacations. But it's to discuss the railway. So this is a business expense, write off, or whatever. I don't even think that's a tax write-off because they're in the government. I don't know how that works, but it's essentially the process where they used it as an excuse as, we're making the railway, is the same that business owners would use when they try to write stuff off.
I don't know. I'm not too sure about what's going on right now. The district and all the cuts and all the stuff. I feel like someone will post that because wasn't the like all the members of the district? What are they called?
Board members?
They said that they gave themselves 100% increase pay, right?
No, yeah, I heard about it. It's that the board members are giving pink slips, I think they said, to like teachers about their pay getting cut or then possibly like firing them, while the board members get a pay increase.
So, I'm pretty sure like all the members voted within themselves. They just gave the majority and like, oh yeah, we're gonna pay each other 100% times more. You know, I'm pretty sure everyone will post that.
Yeah.
Because it's not right at all to just cut people's wages off
awful.
just because they voted on themselves to give themselves more money. I'm pretty, yeah.
I'm pretty, yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like, because like
Let's
they're
get an
basically, they're basically cutting, like taking people's money,
Yeah.
right? Just giving it to themselves, even though the board's already like on a deficit, I'm pretty sure, of a couple million, right? So even though they're already like in debt and they're constantly like need more money, they're still giving themselves more money instead of like actually fixing the problems with the district.
Oh my god.
Okay,
that,
well,
yeah, Bruce should have given
Okay.
it to.
Yeah, we're done.
I think so, because we're kind of out of time.
I need to say something.
Okay.
When I was talking about the high-speed railway, I might have been wrong. If it was a court, that would have been hearsay, because I don't know for sure, and when I'm trying to look at it. By the way, it's like, jeez, it's like billions of dollars, it's not millions.
No, yeah, it's like
Literally
300
billions of dollars for this railway.
I think I read it's like 300 billion or something.
Dude, no, it says 20 billion right
Oh,
here.
yeah.
But billions, so that's a lot of money.
Yeah, 20 million, 20 billion is still a lot.
All this money, and where's the railway? I mean,
How?
it's just cooked.
And then all that money
And
for
where's-
railway, but we still have homeless people.
Dude, I think we came to the conclusion that majority rights for the most part are reliable and they tend to be morally correct, but it is very sensitive from case to case because when it comes to certain things, minorities are given the short end of the stick or they're just stripped of their rights, etc. So it really depends, and it also depends of the size and structure of different societies and countries.
All right, we all agree with this. Please give us a second.
Yeah.
We're getting hard.
Right.